Have you ever thought about like how the laws of physics, the ones that govern like planets and stars and everything, how they actually apply to something as like complex and messy as life?
Well, that's where biophysics comes in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really at this like fascinating intersection, where we take the elegance and precision of physics and try to use that to understand these super intricate processes that we see in biology.
So you're basically like looking for the fundamental laws that like govern how all living systems work.
Right, exactly. Like from the tiniest molecules to like entire organisms.
I see. So it's kind of like taking this physics lens and zooming way, way in on the machinery of life.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. What kind of things do you think biophysicists are looking at?
Hmm. Well, when I think of like life in physics, I immediately go to like movement. So like muscles.
Ah, that's a great example. So like muscle contraction.
Yeah.
Like we all know that muscles move us, right?
Right.
But biophysics really delves into like how that actually happens at the molecular level. Yeah, and it all comes down to physics, like the conversion of energy.
Oh, interesting.
You know, how chemical energy gets transformed into mechanical energy.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think that our bodies are like these incredible physics experiments happening all the time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it goes way beyond just muscles, too.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Biophysics helps us understand how cells communicate with each other, how DNA replicates, even like how proteins fold into these really complex 3D structures.
Yeah, I've seen like the pictures of those. They look pretty wild.
Oh, they are. They're super complex and it all determines their function. It's like this whole world of these molecular machines that are operating according to, you guessed it, the laws of physics.
That's so cool. But I'm
Yeah.
curious, like how do biophysicists actually see what's happening at such a small scale?
Well, they have some pretty incredible tools that they use.
Oh, I bet.
Like really advanced imaging techniques, like electron microscopes. Those let them visualize these teeny tiny structures. And then they also use mathematical models to kind of like simulate biological processes.
Oh, that's
Yeah, and there are powerful techniques like spectroscopy where they can analyze how light interacts with different molecules, and that reveals some of their properties.
so it sounds like a real fusion of like cutting edge physics and biology.
It really is.
But why does all this matter? Like how does understanding these tiny little details actually help us in the bigger picture?
That's where it gets really exciting because biophysics isn't just about observing, it's about taking that knowledge and applying it to solve real world problems.
Oh, okay.
Like take medicine, for example.
Right.
If we can understand how a drug molecule interacts with a protein at the atomic level, we can actually design much more effective and targeted treatments.
So it's like using physics to outsmart disease. That's amazing.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I bet the applications go way beyond just healthcare.
Absolutely. You're right. Biophysics has had a huge impact on things like technology development. Like, for example, those biosensors.
Oh, yeah.
Those devices that can detect certain substances. Well, the design of those really relies heavily on understanding the biophysical principles of how those substances interact with different biological molecules.
I see. So we're talking everything from medical treatments to like environmental monitoring.
Ugh.
It sounds like a field with almost limitless potential.
Yeah, it really is. And the coolest thing is that it's constantly evolving.
Oh, I bet.
As we understand more about the physical world and new technologies are developed, the applications of biophysics will only continue to grow.
It's pretty amazing to think that just by understanding these like fundamental processes of life, we can actually unlock solutions to some of the world's biggest challenges.
Absolutely. And we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
One area that's really interesting right now is the study of quantum biology.
Quantum biology.
Yeah,
What, you mean like the world of quantum mechanics might actually be at play in living systems?
exactly. We're starting to see how quantum phenomena like entanglement and superposition could actually be influencing things like photosynthesis or even how our brains work.
Whoa, that's pushing the boundaries of what I thought was possible.
It is. It's a brand new frontier. What kind of implication that do you think this could have for the future?
Well, if we could actually harness these quantum principles,
Yeah.
imagine like designing drugs that work on those principles or developing completely new energy sources based on how plants use light.
Yeah,
The possibilities seem pretty mind-boggling.
they really are.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be in the field for sure.
This is all so fascinating, revolutionizing medicine and energy and everything. But I'm curious, like, what are some of the biggest challenges that biophysicists are facing right now. Like studying something so complex, it can't be easy.
You're absolutely right. It's really complex. One of the biggest challenges we face is just the sheer complexity of living organisms. Like, it's one thing to understand how a single protein folds,
Right.
but it's a whole other thing to understand how thousands of different proteins are all interacting with each other within a single cell.
Yeah, it's like trying to understand the whole internet by just looking at one website.
Exactly. And so because of this complexity, biophysicists are turning more and more to computational tools and big data analysis.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, we're collecting massive amounts of biological data and then using really sophisticated algorithms to try and find patterns and connections in all of that data.
So it's not just about looking smaller and smaller with better microscopes.
Right.
It's also about thinking bigger with like better data analysis.
Precisely. And this kind of systems level thinking is going to be super crucial for tackling these complex problems, like understanding how a disease progresses throughout the body, or like how an ecosystem might respond to climate change.
That makes sense. But where do you even begin with building accurate models of these incredibly complex systems?
Well, it requires a really powerful combination of experimental data and theoretical modeling. We use experimental techniques to observe how these systems behave under different conditions. And then based on those observations, we develop theoretical frameworks and mathematical models that try to explain what we see and also make predictions about how the system might behave in other scenarios.
So it's like this constant back and forth,
Yeah.
refining the models as you gather more data and test new hypotheses.
Precisely. And as our models become more and more sophisticated, so too will our ability to actually manipulate and control these systems.
Wow, that is a powerful thought. What kind of possibilities does that open up?
Well, the potential applications are just vast.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to design synthetic organisms that have specific functions that we program them to do, or being able to develop personalized medicine that's tailored to an individual's unique genetic makeup and environmental exposures.
So we're talking like a whole new era of bioengineering in medicine.
Exactly. And it's all thanks to biophysics, which bridges that gap between the physical and biological worlds. By understanding these fundamental principles that govern life at all scales, we're gaining this unprecedented level of control over the building blocks of nature.
Wow, it's incredible to think about how far we've come in understanding all these like complexities of life.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, with all this knowledge and these amazing tools, where do we go from here? Like, what are the big unanswered questions that biophysics is still trying to figure out?
Oh, there are so many exciting avenues to explore.
I bet.
One that's really pushing the boundaries is the study of how life first emerged on Earth,
Wow.
like going back billions of years,
Wow.
and trying to understand that transition from non-living matter to the very first primitive cells.
That's going way back to the origins of life itself.
It is.
How are biophysicists even approaching a question that big?
Well, it's a multi-pronged approach. Some researchers are actually trying to recreate the conditions of early Earth in the lab. Yeah, experimenting with different chemical mixtures and energy sources to see if they can spontaneously generate those building blocks of life. And then others are using these really sophisticated computer simulations to model how those early molecules might have interacted and kind of self-assembled into more complex structures.
So it's like a combination of experimental and theoretical approaches.
Exactly, like we talked about with understanding modern biological systems.
Right.
And it's a super challenging area of research.
Oh, I bet.
We're dealing with events that happened billions of years ago, and the evidence we have is often really fragmented and difficult to interpret. But the potential rewards are huge.
Oh, yeah.
If we can actually understand how life first arose, it would have major implications for our understanding of biology evolution and even the search for life beyond Earth.
That is mind-blowing. It's
Yeah.
like biophysics is not only helping us understand life as we know it, but also searching for the origins of life itself.
It is.
What other big questions are out there?
Another big one is the quest to understand the human brain. We've been talking about the complexity of biological systems, but the brain is on a whole other level.
Yeah, it's true.
Like a network of billions of neurons, each connected to thousands of others, all constantly firing and communicating in ways we're only beginning to understand.
People always say that the human brain is the most complex object in the known universe.
And they're right.
Yeah.
It's not an exaggeration.
So biophysics is trying to help us unravel those mysteries.
Yeah, exactly. We're developing all kinds of new imaging techniques to actually observe brain activity in real time.
Hmm.
We're building computational models to try and simulate these massive neural networks, and even using tools from quantum mechanics to explore what role quantum phenomena might play in consciousness.
So not just understanding how individual neurons work, but how they all work together to create consciousness, thoughts, and emotions.
Exactly. It's a huge task, but the potential breakthroughs could be transformative.
For sure.
Like, imagine being able to treat neurological diseases like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, or developing new technologies that can interface directly with the brain.
It seems like biophysics is kind of pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible in so many different areas.
Eh,
It's a really exciting time to be witnessing these discoveries.
it is. And I think the most important thing to remember is that this is really just the beginning.
Yeah.
As our tools and understanding continue to evolve, who knows what incredible mysteries of life will unlock in the future.
It's so cool to think about. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our exploration of biophysics.
Thus,
It's been a fascinating journey, to say the least.
I agree. I hope our listeners have enjoyed this deep dive into the world where physics and biology meet. It's a field that's full of wonder and discovery, and I think it has the potential to really reshape how we understand life itself.